6 at the Pengrowth Saddledome in Calgary.
Redirected, score! Game 7! Montana St. Louis! We are going back to Tampa Bay!
The 7th game. The Stanley Cup will be won tonight. Oh, baby, for sure! What a play by the Cavaliers! They had to have it. They have it.
What a save! That may be the one! That may be the one!
Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup!
And that was 15 years ago. A team led by Captain Dave Andechuk, along with young superstars Vincent Lecavalier, Martin St. Louis, Brad Richards, very steady blue line there with Dan Boyle, and Corey Stillman, Corey Sirich. Quite a team they had there in 2004. Freddie Modine, just to name a few of the players. They won the Stanley Cup there, as you've seen there, in 2004, defeating the 6th seed Calgary Flames. Yes, the 6th seed out of the West, led by superstar Captain Jerome Aginla. Of course, they had big names like Martin Gelinas, Robin Regier, Craig Conroy, Jordan Leopold, to name a few, and of course Mika Kiprusoff in between the pipes. It was Nikolai Hadibulin for the Lightning. It was Mika Kiprusoff for the Flames. It was probably one of the best Stanley Cup Finals in recent memories, especially if you were a Calgary Flames fan. Despite the Flames losing there in 7 games, it was still a hell of a ride for the Calgary Flames back then, 15 years ago in 2004. And here we are, exactly 15 years later. We are in the month of May of 2019. And yes, the Calgary Flames and Tampa Bay Lightning are set to meet back in the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 2004. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 24, the Stanley Cup Finals 2019. Yes, we are excited and ready to go here. The Calgary Flames are looking to win their 2nd ever Stanley Cup in franchise history. The Calgary Flames have just captured their 4th Western Conference Championship. Will play in their 4th Stanley Cup Finals, and now they're looking for a 2nd Stanley Cup to go along with that elusive 1989 Stanley Cup Championship team. So, yes, as mentioned, welcome to episode number 24. We are playing for the Stanley Cup, and as you can see, as mentioned in the last episode, it will be the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, that was probably the most exciting episode of our franchise mode. Was the last episode there against the St. Louis Blues. What a series this was here against St. Louis for us to capture our Western Conference Championship in just our 2nd season as tenure of the GM of the Calgary Flames. But you can see here it was a hell of a series. It was a series that was expected to at least go 7 games. We got by the Blues here, as you can see, in 5 games. It was a pretty good series for the Calgary Flames. It started off with a poor start for us there, a 4-2 loss in Game 1. That's what I thought we were going to be looking at more in the series, but then our depth really came through for us in the rest of the series. A hell of a comeback win here in Game number 2, and then we went and won 3 more straight, including this amazing Game 5 in which we came from behind again, tied the game with, I think it was less than 2 minutes to go, and then of course Travis Hamonic, of all people, potted that overtime winner to send the Calgary Flames to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, yes, it has been an exciting run for the Calgary Flames. We finished as the 2nd seed in the Western Conference and the 2nd seed in our division, behind only the Vancouver Canucks. And then we were expected to do some big things this season. I don't know if I expected us to reach the Stanley Cup Finals in our 2nd season here with the Calgary Flames. But hey, when we took over at the helms of the GM of the Calgary Flames 2 years ago, this team was poised and built to be a Stanley Cup favorite in the next how many seasons. Well, here we are 2 seasons after taking over controls. We've made a number of moves over the last couple seasons, including this season, to to only solidify that and help build us as a stronger contender than we already were. So I mean, it's not like we have been looking for the draft picks, and it's not like we have been looking to grow young prospects, although we kind of have been. At the same time, we have been selling our young futures to get pieces like John Tavares and Craig Anderson and James Neal, just a couple of the big names we have brought in since taking over as GM of the Calgary Flames. Just looking here, we made some big moves there. So, obviously, a lot of the work that was done with this team was done before us with Brad Treliving and even Jay Feaster, who did a massive amount of work with this team back in his time with the Calgary Flames. And then, of course, Treliving did an amazing job. But now that we have taken over, we have just continued to add to that and really put those final pieces to push us over the top. I mean, I know John Tavares is really is like a dream player. That was the biggest move probably in Flames franchise history, was to acquire a guy like John Tavares on free agency. But that was the type of guy we needed to put us over the top. And now, look at, here we are, Stanley Cup Finals. So, this is exciting. This is going to be possibly a longer episode than usual. As mentioned, it is the Stanley Cup Finals, so that is why we are facing the Tampa Bay Lightning, as you can see down here. So we're going to get just right into it. We're going to do, first of all, we're going to look at stats. We're going to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can see there's Johnny Gaudreau, 18 points in 17 games. John Tavares is also up there, so let's just quickly take a look. Excuse me. Ooh. So we'll just quickly take a look as we head into the finals. So yeah, there it is. Johnny Gaudreau, 18 points. John Tavares, 17 points in 17 games. These two are our favorites for the Conn Smythe Trophy. So of course, whenever a team reaches the Stanley Cup Finals, they have to have their favorites for the Conn Smythe Trophy. Well, for us, it's going to be either Gaudreau or Tavares. So it'll be interesting to see if we win, who the game chooses between these two players. Clearly, it's going to be one of these two players. But look at the contribution we're getting from some of the other players. Dougie Hamilton, 14 points through the playoffs. He's been magnificent. Sean Monahan has been really steady on that second line. Sam Bennett has just been amazing this whole playoff series. Ever since we put him up there with Gaudreau and Tavares near the end of the season, he has just excelled, and he's come through for us hugely in these playoffs. He has 4 goals, but they're 4 huge goals. Thinking back, I think all 4 of his goals were like either huge game-winning goals or game-tying goals that helped decide series. So Bennett has really been a strong X factor for us. 10 points there for TJ Brody, continuing to get it done there with Hamilton. James Neal has been really solid since coming in here. Of course, he didn't have maybe as strong of a finish or as strong of a season as maybe we wanted out of him, being a top, really was projected to be our top line right winger. He obviously got bumped down in favor of Sam Bennett, but he's been pretty solid as a second line right winger. 9 points is still pretty damn good, along with his line mate Matthew Tkachuk. That second line has just really been steady contributing, but it's the depth here. Chris Versteeg, 6 points. Michael Furlick, 5 points. The captain with 6 points there. Cedric Parquet, Dmitry Yaskins combining for 8 points between the two of them on the fourth line. Jankowski has added 4 points. So it's guys like this. Michael Furlan, 2 huge goals. It's guys like that have really come through for us. Like I said in the last episode, we expected going into the Stanley Cup playoffs against Arizona, we expected that our depth was going to be our biggest weakness. We thought if we would exit at one point in the playoffs, it was going to be because of the lack of depth that we had. I mean, that's why we went out and tried to get Rick Nash. Obviously, our depth has actually been one of our strengths in the playoffs, so it's actually been the opposite for us. This bottom pairing of Joe Morrow, Rasmus Andersson, and Slater Cuckoo, when he's come in, they've all struggled. You can see here, -5, -6, -2. Cuckoo's only played 6 games, but still, none of them have points, and they've been in the minuses each and every night, steady. It's very strange because Joe Morrow and Rasmus Andersson, all season long, were one of the strongest and most steady third line pairings probably in the NHL. They were probably our most consistent and most steady defensive pairing for us. So very, I don't know what to make of it. Joe Morrow and Rasmus Andersson, they were just so good in the regular season. They've hit playoffs here. And I know it's a small sample size, 13, 15 games here, really 17 games between the 3 of them, but that's really that's really not good to see these numbers here. So what I'm thinking is come the off season, we're going to have to address our bottom pairing. Hopefully we can see Rasmus Anderson take the step because he's only 22. But do we move on from a guy like Joe Morrow, who we claimed off the waivers, by the way, both Slater Cuckoo and Joe Morrow, 26 and 25. Two guys with still a little bit of potential in them, in medium top 6 potential, although they're pretty much at the plateau age. But you can see we claimed both these guys off waivers. So but those are questions for the off-season, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. We have a Stanley Cup Finals to play. I did not need to go there in the AHL. Okay, so let's go to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like I said, this is going to be a longer episode, so let's just see how fast we can get through this to get us to the end. So let's take a look at what we're going up against. And oh my god, I am not looking forward to facing them. I thought St. Louis was going to be the toughest team we faced. We know that when we faced Arizona and Colorado, they were both the 7th and 8th seed in the Western Conferences, respectively, I believe. So when we faced both of those two teams, they were, the two weakest teams in the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup playoffs. When we faced St. Louis, however, they were the third best team. They were the 3rd seed in the Western Conference behind us, who were the 2nd seed. So that was a much tougher matchup. I really thought that was going to be our biggest... or that was going to be our fall, was the St. Louis Blues, because they had such a powerful team. But now that we got the Tampa Bay Lightning in the finals, it's not getting any easier. In fact, it's getting a lot harder, I believe, than what we've seen out of St. Louis. So, obviously, just like us, led by Tavares and Gaudreau, just like St. Louis was led by Tarasenko and Ivan Barbashev, we can see that the Tampa Bay Lightning have their dynamic 1-2 punch of superstars up front, and of course that's led by Captain Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov, who are both in the 90s, as you can see there. Kucherov 90, 92 there for Stamkos. So pretty similar, I would say, to us in both Tavares and Gaudreau. You can see there Tavares is a 92, and Gaudreau, I believe, is an 88, so he's a little bit less than Kucherov, but he's performing better than Kucherov. In the playoffs thus far. You can see there Tyler Johnson as well. He's got 12 points through 18 games. Ryan Callahan, Andre Palat, Braden Point, and then Victor Hedman, their top defenseman, obviously 91 overall, 10 points. So they don't really have, we'll look at their lines here in a second, but you can see, their points are led by their two superstars, but then it's spread out a little bit too. I think they're a lot similar to St. Louis. I wouldn't say they're similar to Arizona or Colorado, which were pretty much the same two teams. There's Vladimir Nemeshkov, Chris Kunitz, the veteran, there as well, and then you can see the guys rounding out their team down here. So their offense is pretty well spread out between their entire team, so that's obviously as expected. I just want to look here at their goaltending, and they've got, as mentioned, John Gibson and Andrei Vasilevsky. So we mentioned this in the last video. We faced some good goalies thus far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but we have not ever seen anything like this. In fact, I don't believe there is a team in the NHL that has a 1-2 punch like this. John Gibson, who they went out at the trade deadline, and they sold the farm, I believe. I can't remember what they gave up. I know it was first-round picks, prospects. It was like the entire, it was a massive trade. They got John Gibson, a 25-year-old medium elite goalie who's 90 overall from the Anaheim Ducks. This is their go-to number one guy for the future. He's already a 90, and he's at 25 years of age. He probably will get to 93, maybe even a 94 by the time he plateaus. So that's obviously amazing. He's probably going to be the best goalie in the game very soon, with Carey Price starting to decline. So that has been incredible for them. They went out and got that guy. The strange thing is they did not get rid of this guy, Andrei Vasilevsky, who is about the same age. He's 1 year younger. He also is a medium elite, just like Gibson, and he's an 85. So he's 5 less than John Gibson, but he'll probably at least get to a 90 as well. However, he won't get to a 90 on the Tampa Bay Lightning because they're going to be going forward with John Gibson. So you'll remember a few episodes back that we, around the trade deadline, we tried very hard to get Andrei Vasilevsky. We did everything we could to try and acquire him. When we were trying to get a goalie, we ended up getting Craig Anderson, but we wanted Vasilevsky because this would have been our goalie for many years to come. And in fact, we're going to still try and get Vasilevsky in the off season. We want to continue to try and get this guy because his trade potential, or his trade value, was actually quite low for his potential. Medium elite, 24 years of age, and already an 85. For a guy that should get around 90 by the time he plateaus, his trade value was extremely low. for who he was. So we tried everything to get him. We couldn't get him. Tampa wasn't interested in trading him, which is strange because you think they would have been. Having two number one goalies just never works. But we'll address that in the offseason. We'll try at Vasilevsky again. But this is insane because we're going up against the best 1-2 punch in the NHL in terms of goalies. No matter who they threw at us, they'll probably go with Gibson most nights. I mean, he's played 18 of the how many games that they've played. Vasilevsky has only played the 3 games. He might only have came in relief in 3 games as well. So Gibson actually is their number one goalie. We're probably going up against him each and every night. But even if they wanted to give Gibson the night off, or if by some chance he got injured, they still have Vasilevsky. So we are really hooped when it comes to the goaltending matchup. We have Craig Anderson, who is an 86. So it's going to be a very tough goaltending matchup. They obviously by far win that one. But let's take a look at the lines here and just see what the rest of their lineup looks like. I think the offenses should be pretty even. So I don't want to edit our lines. I want to view their lines. It'll be interesting to see who wins the defensive matchup. Because, like I said, they obviously win the goaltending matchup by far. But we'll see what offense and defense looks like from the Tampa Bay Lightning. So here we go, Stanley Cup Finals. This is exciting. Like the Calgary Flames, Tampa Bay Lightning, a rematch of 2004. You saw it there with the opening video. This is going to be something else. 15 years later, I still can't believe it. I know how excited I was there at the end of episode 23. It's just carried over here to episode 24. So here we go. Tampa Bay Lightning and their top line of Andre Palat, Steven Stamkos, and Nikita Kucherov. So like I said, no surprise that they have Stamkos and Kucherov on the same line like we have Tavares and Gaudreau. It's very similar there. Then they also have an 84 to complement that line. So we have an 84 in Sam Bennett. They have an 84 in Andre Palat. Like this line is exactly the same except for the fact that Kucherov is a 90 and Gaudreau is an 88. So they have us beat by what, 2-3 here on the one wing. The other wing is the exact same, and the center spot is the exact same. So our top lines are pretty much identical. That would be an amazing head-to-head matchup of our top line versus their top line. This is where all their offense is coming from. Our top line is where all of our offense is coming from. Gaudreau, Tavares, and Bennett have probably combined for at least 80% of our offense in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Probably much of the same right here with their top line in Andre Palat, Stamkos, and Kucherov. When you get to the second line here, you can see they got Vladimir Nemestikov, Tyler Johnson, and Ryan Callahan. Of course, our second line consists of Tkachuk, Monahan, and Neal. We have, I'm just thinking here, 87, 88, and an 84. So I believe we have a deeper second line than they do. Our second line has been pretty solid in the playoffs in contributing with secondary scoring. So that's not bad there. I think we beat them there. Third line, though, they have obviously better depth here. 82 in Braden Point, the Calgary native. Chris Kunitz there, and Alex Killorn, both just at 80s. And then you can see here, Adam Ernie, Brandon Sutter there, the former Canuck, and Sean Matthias round out their fourth line. So fourth lines, like I say, they're pretty much the same. Our fourth line has actually been pretty solid for us. The fact that they've been contributing, the guys like former Tampa Bay Lightning, Cedric Parquet, Dmitry Yaskins, Chris Versteeg, Michael Ferland, everybody on the fourth line has just really been solid for playing their role, like they've contributed. They probably do have us slightly beat here on the third line because we have Jankowski there with Furlik, who is an 82, so we have an 82, they have an 82, and then we got a 79 in Versteeg and whoever's up there between Ferland or Yaskins, so they might have a slightly beat there. We definitely have them beat here in the second line, and the first lines are pretty much the exact same. So I would say the offense is probably the closest we've seen in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and by closest I mean the most identical to our offense. You'll remember that that Colorado and Arizona, they had a very weird offense, and then St. Louis had a very strong offense on the wings, but very weak in the middle behind Ivan Barbashev, who was not even that good. He was an 82. But this offense is constructed a lot more like ours. It's top heavy, but they do have good depth as well. Our depth doesn't show good on paper, but like I said, in the playoffs, our depth has so far come through 3 rounds for us, so that is key for us. But yes, they definitely have a very strong overall offense, but I believe so do we. So I think this is the closest and most identical offense we've seen to ours. This should be a really good head-to-head matchup. In the defensive department, you can see they're pretty close to identical to us as well here. They got a 91 in Victor Hedman and 89 in Mikhail Sergachev, who they got in the Jonathan Drouin trade from Montreal. Habs fans will not like to see that. And then they got Brandon Montour, who they also got from Anaheim in that Gibson trade with Anton Strawman, and then Braden Colburn and Dan Girardi, the former Ranger, there on the third pairing. So they have a deeper defensive core than us. I think we have it's about similar. They have a 91 and an 89 as their top pairing. That's extremely strong. We have an 89 and an 87 in Giordano and Hamilton. We do have Brody, who's an 87 here on this second pairing, with an 83 in Travis Hamonic. But they have an 84 and an 81, and then, like I said, they definitely beat us in this bottom pairing, especially considering how much our third pairing has been struggling in the playoffs. Braden Colburn and Dan Girardi. Although it's on paper, it's a lot closer. So, just like the offense, I think this defensive core is very, very similar. They might. I was gonna say they might beat us slightly, but I don't know. It's pretty damn close. I mean, we're not far off from them when it comes to the defensive core. I definitely don't think we're far. I think we're pretty much equal when it comes to offense. Let's just take a look here at what their special teams is looking like. So Stamkos, Kucherov, Palat, Point, Johnson, Nemestikov there, Hedman. Yeah, so they got a pretty strong power play core. We'll take a look at the power play numbers for them in a second. And there, as mentioned, there it is, John Gibson, Andrei Vasilevsky. So where they have us definitely beat by far is in the goaltending matchup. Other than that, I think the lineups are actually exactly similar. Like, I think they're very, very similar. They're very, very similar. I mean, we'll take a look here at ours. I don't know what else to say. I mean, like I said, on paper, our bottom six doesn't look as strong as their bottom six, only because they have a lot more guys closer to 80. But you remember on the third line, two of their guys are exactly 80. I mean, we got two guys that are 78, one guy that's 79, so we're not far back. Fourth lines are pretty much the same. Like, I mean, even if you wanted to switch Jaskin to Versteeg to make it closer there in the third line, it's not going to make much of a difference. I think our top six is as equal to their top six. Pretty strong. We have the stronger second line by far here with Kachuk, Monahan, and Neal, so that might help round out with their stronger bottom six. But very similar in offense and defense. Like I said, 87 and 89. They have a slightly better top pairing with 91, and an 89. But we have a stronger, probably second pairing with Brody. Brody really brings up the value of our second pairing at 87 overall. That's pretty damn good. 83 there, but they have us beat down here, and then they definitely have us beat in the goaltending matchup. So, like I said, I think that just looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning and looking at their roster, they're probably the most equal to our lineup out of any NHL team, not just in the playoffs. Like, I mean, I'm not going to go through all the lines of every NHL team, but they got to be very similar. Like, they got to be one of the closest lineup matchups to us that I've ever seen. So, I know we've only looked at the teams we played in the playoffs, but they got to be pretty damn similar to us. And even looking at their stats, like their offense is spread out. They have the two guys that have the exact same points as our top two guys. Like, it's very similar in a lot of ways. So let's look at goals for here first. Obviously, Tampa Bay Lightning do lead the way there with 50 goals for. St. Louis also had 50 goals for, who we just knocked off in the Western Conference Finals. But we do have 46. So they did play one more game than us. They've played 18 games thus far in the playoffs. We've played 17. They also do have 4 more goals than we do. So, I mean, really one game, 4 goals. If we played another game, we could easily score four more goals and be at the same amount of goals for as they are. So let's just look at what goals for per game, so there they are with 2.78 goals per game, and we are 2.71. So we're not really that far off. 2.78, 2.71. We're not far off at all when it comes to goals for. Let's look at goals against. Let's just look at the average again. Goals against. We are, and they are, so we're here at 2.65 goals against. They probably have a pretty damn good goals against percentage, being the fact that they have Gibson and Vasilevsky, and yes, they do. They have the best goals against average in the NHL, 1.78. So they're only allowing 1.78 goals per game. That is incredible. That is just a testament to Andrei Vasilevsky and John Gibson, especially John Gibson, who's probably getting the job done for them in goal. So they have allowed the least amount of goals. We're not too far behind at 265. We're what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the playoffs. So we're not too far behind, but they are the number 1 team at 1.78. So it's going to be hard. They definitely have us beat in the goaltending matchup. We're going to have to find a way to score goals against them in this Stanley Cup Finals if we want a shot at winning our second ever Stanley Cup. Not going to be an easy series. I know I said that about the last one against St. Louis, but I really think that this is going to be the biggest challenge we will ever face is this team right here in Tampa Bay because they're strong. Let's look at their special teams. You'll remember that St. Louis had the really good special teams. We didn't have as good of a special teams going into the Western Conference Finals, but that didn't seem to matter too much. We still got by the Blues in 5. So let's see what we're looking at here in terms of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So our power play was only 18% or 17% after went 17%, excuse me, in round 2 against Colorado. You'll remember from the last video, and it was at about 21% after the second round. So now after 3 rounds, it's gone up to 23.7%. So it has slightly improved during the Western Conference Finals. I don't think it was as strong as it could have been. I still think we are struggling mightily when it comes to the power play. But hey, look at that. We are the 5th best power play in the NHL in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, I'm going to complain, but we are operating at 23.7% after 3 rounds. We were 21% after 2 rounds. We only won 18% there in the second round, but we have improved slightly, so that's good to see. The good thing to see here, though, is the Lightning are down there at 14.3%, so near the bottom when it comes to teams on the power play. So that's obviously good to see. So their power play has struggled a lot more than ours has. We are in the top end, they are in the bottom end. So that's what you like to see. Hopefully we can win the special teams battle. When it comes to the PK, our PK has actually been pretty damn steady the whole playoffs. I know it did plateau a little bit there in the last couple rounds, but on average, it's been pretty good. Good enough there at 81%, but they do have the second best PK in the NHL. They're operating at 90%.2. You'll remember the St. Louis Blues did have the best PK. Theirs was operating at, I believe, 92 before we started the Western Conference Finals. They after that Western Conference Finals versus us, their penalty kill went down to 90%, which is the exact same as the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Lightning, they've only allowed 6 power play goals against on 61 tries. That's a pretty damn good PK. That's pretty similar to what we saw in the St. Louis Blues. Their power play has struggled. Our PK has been about average at 81%. So I think if we can win, if we can win the special teams battle again, and I know I said this every series, especially the last one, and it didn't end up being the factor, but I think truly if we win the special teams battle in this series, I think we have a shot, really good shot at winning the Stanley Cup. So it's not going to be easy, but especially with the fact that they do have a strong PK. Our power play has been struggling, but their power play has been struggling. We have an average PK. I mean, we should be able to win the special teams battle. We're going to have to find a way, though, to get some power play goals against them. We're just going to have to figure out a way to score, period, against them. It's not going to be easy. We looked at their, obviously, their goals against at 1.78. That's an incredible, the best goals against average in the playoffs by far. It's not going to be easy at all. So we have reached, we have reached the finals. Owner goal accomplished. That's good to see. But no, it's not going to be easy. So I think our biggest factor in this series against the Tampa Bay Lightning, if we want to win the Stanley Cup, is going to be having to find a way to score goals. We can get it done. We have the superstars like John Tavares, Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, Sam Bennett. The list goes on of guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. So we're going to have to figure out a way to ensure that we do just that. That we do put the puck in the back of the net, because they have the best goaltending 1-2 punch in the league. They have the best goaltending, period. I mean, gifts, and it's going to be hard to beat this guy, but we're going to have to find a way to get pucks past him if we want to win this series. And then we're going to have to find a way to win the special teams battle. And last but not least, our depth is going to have to continue to outperform their depth, Our depth is a lot weaker than their depth on paper. I'm talking about our bottom 6 than their bottom 6. But we have to, just like they've done in the last 3 rounds, our depth players are going to have to continue to find a way to come through in this series. If we can accomplish all 3 of those things, scoring scoring goals, beating Gibson, winning the special teams, and having our depth come through, I think we have a really good shot at winning the Stanley Cup. So those are the 3 keys, I believe, to winning the Stanley Cup for the Calgary Flames for just the 2nd time ever, and for the 1st time since 1989. Can it be? So, I mean, that would be incredible if we could win the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's been a long, long time in Calgary. So, here we go. We are just about set to start the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just want to quickly here... Stanley Cup Finals, excuse me, what am I doing? I just want to quickly here, just look at our AHL team. That's just what I wanted to. So, our AHL team, out of nowhere, has gone by and won their first 3 rounds of their playoffs. They're heading to the Calgary Cup Finals, which is the Stanley Cup Finals of the AHL. So, out of nowhere, our AHL team that wasn't even that strong this year as it was the previous year, where it finished first overall in the AHL. For some reason, the Stockton Heat have reached the Calgary Cup Finals. You'll remember, I think it was 1 year ago, despite finishing first overall in the entire American Hockey League, they exited in the first round. And here they are a year later. They didn't finish even close to top in the AHL this year, and yet they make it to the Calgary Cup Finals. So, really strange, but yeah, as part of the Calgary Flames organization, we are definitely rooting for the Stockton Heat against the Providence Bruins there in the American Hockey League Finals. So they play on every single day that we play. You can see there, every time we play in the NHL, they play in the AHL. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully they win the Calgary Cup down there. Could you imagine if we win the Stanley Cup and the Calgary Cup in the same year? I don't know if any team's ever done that, but that would be an incredible accomplishment as an organization as a whole, to have both your NHL and AHL teams win the championship in the same year. That could be, I think that would be a first, but that would be incredible. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get to it. You can see it. There it is down there. 2019 Stanley Cup Finals, a rematch. 15 years ago, the Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup champions over the Calgary Flames. Here we are, 15 years later, looking for some revenge. Can we do it? Can we win the damn Stanley Cup here in just our 2nd season with the Calgary Flames? There's only one way to find out. So, before we jump right in, I just want to go one more time to our edit lines. I'm going to leave everything else as is, except I'm just going to make one minor change here, and that's on defense. Slater Cuckoo, and you'll remember in Game 5, didn't have a good game either, so we'll bring Joe Morrow back in. I'm going to go with Rasmus Andersson, Joe Morrow to start this series. I'm going to trust them. They have been shit in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but all season long, they've been so strong and consistent. So here we are. We're on the biggest stage on the planet. I'm going to give them the game. I'm going to give them the opportunity to show that what happened in this playoffs was not as accurate as what happened in the regular season, that they are a better bottom pairing. So hopefully they can find a way to get it done here in the Stanley Cup Finals and turn around what has been a horrible playoffs for them. Other than that, you can see the lines. It's going to stay as is. We are going to try and win a Stanley Cup with this exact lineup. We are going to trust these players to get the job done. Can they do it? Is this a Stanley Cup caliber team? We definitely have the pieces, the making of it. The making of a team, we definitely have the right pieces. Do we have the right recipe to win a Stanley Cup? There's only one damn way to find out, and that's to jump right in. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Calgary Flames, Tampa Bay Lightning, the first of the best of 7 for the Stanley Cup Championship. Let's get going. So real-time sim, here we go. What a start. 2 goals, and there's Rasmus Andersson. So Ryan Callahan opens the scoring. Here's a PK. We get the PK going. That's good to see. Ryan Callahan opens the scoring, beating Craig Anderson for the first goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, but Rasmus Andersson responds. There's another PK, so 2 straight power plays killed off by the Calgary Flames. Our PK has gone 2 for 2 so far in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's good to see. We have yet to see the power play, though. Can we get the power play going? So Rasmus Andersson, good to see him score. I wonder if that's his first point of the Stanley Cup playoffs, his first goal and first point. So that's good to see. So here's another PK. Here's another PK. So we do go 0 for 3, but they score after their power play. Braden Coburn. So a couple third pairing defensemen getting some goals here in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We do have home ice advantage this time around in the Stanley Cup Finals, whereas 15 years ago the Tampa Bay Lightning had the home ice advantage. So 2-1 after 40 minutes of play. We are out shooting them 24-19, but as you can see, we are having trouble beating John Gibson. I believe this is probably going to be a very low-scoring series, despite having 2 powerful offensive teams. We got some pretty good goalies in Craig Anderson and especially in John Gibson between the pipes. 5. So here we go. Final period of play in Game 1. Can we push back and grab Game 1? Can we at least tie this one up, send it to overtime? Give us a shot at winning Game 1 here. Let's go up 1-0 on the Lightning. We're 4 wins away from the Stanley Cup. There we go. John Tavares, the superstar, our possible MVP of the playoffs, getting it tied right here. 4 minutes to go. Come on, Calgary Flames, push. Oh, and it's the Calgary native, Braden Point. Oh my God. In front of all of his family and friends. The kid grew up a huge Calgary Flames fan, and here he is in the biggest stage in Calgary, in front of all of his family and friends in the Scotiabank Saddledome, and he scores the game-winning goal with less than a minute to go. Are you kidding me? What a thrilling Game 1, though, that was. We did have a tie there. We were almost about to go to overtime, and then Braden Point, Jesus Christ, of all people to score, in Calgary, too. That's incredible. So we do drop Game 1, unfortunately. That's not good to see. Second line a little bit struggled there with Monahan and Tkachuk. Rasmus Andersson, despite scoring, was in the minuses along with Joe Morrill. Only a -1, but still. That third pairing continuing to struggle for us. Not good to see. 8-9-7 there for Craig Anderson. So not too bad, but we would have liked better. So you can see, though, that we are really going to have to find a way to score goals. Like I said, in those 3 keys, we're going to have to find a way to win the special teams. Our PK was really solid there in Game 1. I think we had 1 or 2 power play opportunities in which we did not score. So we're not winning the power play. Our PK's been okay, but it's our power play we got to get going. And we got to find a way to score these goals. Like, come on. Our depth guys do have to continue to come through. That was our other third point. Rasmus Andersson did score for us, but we got to see more out of our third and fourth line. So, but the biggest thing is we got to find a way to score goals against John Gibson. We did pot 2 of it against him there in Game 1, but we got to find a way to score more than 2, probably more than 3 a game if we want to win, because they're going to probably average around 2-3 goals a game as well. They got a powerful offense, excuse me. So let's jump right into Game 2. I'm not going to make any lineup changes. I'm going to see if what we had in Game 1 can turn it around here in Game 2. So we are in Game 2 here. We have to go back down to Tampa Bay with a 1-1 split. We cannot afford to go to Tampa Bay down 2-0 in this series, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. There's Mark Jankowski. There's a third line goal. That's what we like to see. One of the first shots of the hockey game, and it goes in for us. That's good. So huge. We have to go back with that 1-1 split. Here's the PK again, and they score. So that, I believe, is their first power play goal of the series. That was a pretty long power play. Mikhail Sergachev does score for the Tampa Bay Lightning. This game is tied after 20 minutes of play. PK has been pretty strong, but they let us down there. We got to find a way here to get some goals by Gibson. So come on, Flames. Here's another PK. Come on, Flames. Come on, PK. Come on, that is the longest PK ever. Are you kidding me? Why does Tampa have such long power plays? Like, Jesus Christ, where's our power plays? Like, man, this is unreal. Okay, so we're still tied at 1. We've only got 11 shots on net, though. They are probably outplaying us in this hockey game, just going by the shot clock. But there's the former Tampa Bay Lightning, Cedric Parquet. Yes, that's what I like to see. So our depth is getting it done in this game. Jankowski and Parquet. Now, where's our top guys? Where's our top 2 lines? Come on, Tavares, Gaudreau, Monahan, Tkachuk, Bennett, Neal. You got to come through for us here in Game 2 when it matters the most. 20 minutes. That is it. That is all. We need our top guys to come through right here. And they get one from Kucherov to tie this one up. But there's Michael Ferland. Another depth goal for us. Huge goal by Michael Ferland. He's been huge. That is massive for the Calgary Flames. Another third-line goal for the Flames. Power play. Come on, power play. Come on, we got to find a way to score on the power play. We have to find a way to win the special teams battle. We're up by a goal. Can we hang on? PK. We hang on. Woo! That is huge. Okay. So that was a really nerve-wracking third period. I mean, they had the power play there at the end and everything. And their top guys were starting to come through with Kucherov. But Ferland. Michael Ferland gets the game-winning goal for the Calgary Flames. All of our goals coming from our fourth or third line. Cedric Parquet, Michael Ferland, and Mark Jankowski scoring all the goals for us in that hockey game. We do put up 3. That's good enough to get by the Tampa Bay Lightning a second consecutive 1-goal game. That shouldn't be a surprise between very 2 even matched teams here in Tampa and Calgary. Ferland 2 points, Parquet 2 points. That fourth line, are you freaking kidding me? For a leak, I mean, but look at down here. None of our top guys getting any points in this one. Nobody. So we need our top guys now to start showing up. I talked about depth. I stressed over the depth, our depth players getting the job done. Our top guys now have to start showing up. A 9-4-3, incredible game there by Craig Anderson. He could be in the Conn Smythe conversation as well. Craig Anderson could be. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in that conversation as well. But so the theme after the first 2 games now is our depth guys are so far getting it done in this series for us. They've got us to Tampa Bay at 1-1 in the split, but we need our top guys to start coming through. I mean, John Tavares has scored in this series, but we needed the rest of our top guys to come through. Tavares needs to continue. Gaudreau and Bennett need to continue on that line. Monahan, Tkachuk, Neal. That line really has to get going. Remember, we have them beat with that second line. Their second line is definitely not nearly as strong as our second line. So Monahan, Tkachuk, Neal, they've been invisible in 2 games. They've got to show up here in game number 3. So we're going to roll in with the exact same lineup that won us game 2 there by a score of 3-2. Here we go, game number 3. Back-to-back 3-2 games. Tampa won game 1. We won game 2. Can we take the 2-1 series lead? Come on, Calgary Flames. We are in Tampa Bay. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Oh my god, and we had a power play to start, and somehow they score? Vladimir Namestnikov, short-handed possibly. We are not winning the special teams battle, although we did kill off a Tampa power play right there. We cannot lose the special teams battle. Are you kidding me? Our power play. Please, for the love of God, do something. Unreal. So Namestnikov has him off to a 1-0 lead in game 3. Come on, Calgary Flames. Come on, Calgary Flames. Oh, and Matthias scores 2-0 Lightning. Oh my god, Tyler Johnson, 3-0 Tampa Bay. We gotta pull a comeback here. Oh my god. Adam Ernie, this one is slipping away and fast. 5-on-4 power play. We kill it off, but they have a 4-0 lead. 4 unanswered goals, really, but 3 goals there for them in the second period. We do respond with 1 by Mark Jankowski. Where on earth is our top fucking players? Jesus, they have yet to find the back of the net other than Tavares once. Where's our top players? Why is Jankowski leading us in goals in this fucking playoff series? Jankowski should not be leading us in goals in the Stanley Cup Finals. Where is Gaudreau? Where is Tavares? Oh my god. Alright, so this has been a horrible game 3. We still have a period, though, to try and make a comeback. Do we have 3 more goals in the bag to at least push this one to overtime? Down 4-1. This is not good. I mean, what the hell happened in that second period? Here's the power play. The power play's got to do something. The power play has to do something if we're going to win this series. There's James Neal. He's cut the lead just 2. We've got 5 minutes. Do we have 2 more goals? Power play right here. Power play right here. Jesus Christ. Like, I can't even. So we're going to drop game 3 by a score of 4-2. James Neal does score there at the end for us, but it's not enough to push us by the Tampa Bay Lightning. They take a 2-1 series lead, but this is not good. Our top players are not showing up. The biggest thing probably is our power play has struggled mightily. As it has been all playoffs long, our power play has just been struggling, and this time it might cost us. So here's the other not good news. Craig Anderson only played about half the hockey game. I wonder if they maybe pulled him. He did allow, allow 4 goals, on 15 shots against for a 7.33 save percentage. So that's not that good. So 4 goals on 15 shots. Wouldn't be surprised if they pulled him in favor of Mike Smith, who came in the rest of the way and finished it off. But maybe not the best night there for Craig Anderson. That could be part of it. But our top guys got to come through. And here is some extremely bad news. Calgary Flames, Sam Bennett has been injured with a fractured left elbow. His return June 19th. Are you kidding me? June 19th, the playoffs will be over. The finals will be over. Wow. So we have just lost one of our top players. Unfrickin' real. Wow. So this is not good. Not only did we lose game 3 by a score of 4-2, we have just lost one of our top forwards and arguably one of our best players this year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we are in a hoop here now. We don't even have an extra guy to come in right now. All we have is Slater Cuckoo. So I can dress Cuckoo, substitute him here. Shit. Fuck, I should have substituted him in all. No, let's go throw. Alright, so we're shit. Okay, we're fucked here. The reason is I want to call somebody else up. So I'm gonna have to just fucking throw somebody in here. Ah, Jesus Christ. This is not good. Like, is this gonna cost us the fucking Stanley Cup? This would be the shittiest way to lose the Stanley Cup, is to injury. And I know it's only one player, but when it's one of your top players, I mean, this could... I'm just filling these holes right now because I'm gonna attempt to go and replace Cuckoo. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Come on. So this is just not good at all. Oh my god. Yeah, let's go like that. We're just gonna fill holes here. We are going to get up to game 4, but we are going to attempt to call up a forward from Stockton. So we're going to have to go to roster moves here now. You'll remember that EA Sports glitch that didn't allow us to call up Rick Nash has been a problem. So I wonder if it's going to glitch out again and not allow us to swap Cuckoo for somebody else, even though the salary cap would allow it. So let's go down here. Let's go, where's Slater Cuckoo? Here he is. So let's go multi-select Slater Cuckoo. Let's go into the system. If we had to call somebody up, it'd be Derek Roy or Andrew Mangiapane. Mangiapane is the natural winger, so it'll probably be him. So can we multi-select and can we do this? Yes, we can. So we can swap Cuckoo for Andrew Mangiapane. There's no way that shouldn't have worked anyway, but it's going to work. So we're going to call up Andrew Mangiapane. So now we can go to edit lines here, and we are going to fix our lines in both the NHL and AHL. Again, I hate to do that to the Stockton Heat as well, who are now without arguably their top player, and they are fighting for a championship. They're in the finals, and they've just lost their top player, but we need it more here for the Stanley Cup. So, yeah, substitute Mangiapane right now in all of the lines for now. So we will roll with this lineup. So I've just bumped everybody up. James Neal now goes to the top line. Michael Furlick now, for the first time, comes into the top 6 in these Stanley Cup playoffs. Michael Furlan's going to jump up there. He's been huge in this playoffs. Can he get it done there in a third-line spot? We'll switch him and Risty because they're natural left and right wingers, respectively. And Andrew Mangiapane will come in and come into the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time of us. So welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs, Andrew Mangiapane, right into the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 4. So with that, I'm going to quickly edit the rest of these lines here, so give me 1 second. Alright, so I filled in the rest of the lines that Sam Bennett was in. I just replaced him with the lines. I switched up our power play completely. Why are we in the AHL? I switched our power play up completely. I think I put Monahan up there on top. I completely stacked our top pairing. All of our top players on the top pairing. I brought Jankowski and on that second pairing, he's centering that second pairing, and I believe I brought in Travis Hamonic for the first time in that second pair. I just completely shaked up our power play. We've got to find answers on the power play badly, so hopefully by switching that up, that does something, and I replaced Bennett in every other line. In the AHL, I replaced Andrew Mangiapane with Hunter Shinkaruk in every line, so that's not going to matter. You did, if you saw there quickly when we were in the AHL screen there, they are leading, the Stockton Heat are leading their series 2-1. We're down 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So they're 2-1 in the Calgary Cup Finals. We're 1-2 in the Stanley Cup Finals. So we got a battle back here. So here we go, Game 4. It's a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 is the biggest game of the goddamn series. This could decide the Stanley Cup right here, even though it's only Game 4. We cannot, and I mean cannot, let them go up 3-1 and take that stranglehold lead. We have to find a way to even this series right now. We have no other choice. We've got the guys that we have. Can they get it done? I've switched our power play. I've done everything in our power to hopefully get us a win here and at least tie this series up. I mean, give us a fighting chance to win the Stanley Cup, and it does not start off to a good start. Ryan Callahan, second of the series. That is huge for us, or for them, excuse me. They're up 1-0. Here's our power play. There it is, Mark Jankowski on the power play. First power play goal of the Stanley Cup Finals for us, and it is the third goal of the Stanley Cup Finals from Mark Jankowski. I don't care what the outcome is. Well, I do care, but no matter the outcome, Mark fucking Jankowski better fucking grow after having 3 goals in the frickin' Stanley Cup Finals. Excuse my language, but this is insane. Jankowski better take the jump this offseason. A 78, he better at least get to the 80s by next season. I mean, he is performing amazingly here in the Stanley Cup Finals and has actually been pretty decent thus far in the playoffs. In a depth role for us. Here we are, deadlocked at 1. We're about halfway through the regulation of this hockey game, and we are deadlocked at 1. We have a lot more shots in this game than we have in previous games in this Stanley Cup Finals. Can we pull through here in the final period? This is it. anybody's game. Do they go up 3-1, or do we tie this 2-2 going back to Calgary for Game 5? Come on, power play. Come on. Yes! Johnny T. There it is on the power play. That's 2 straight power play goals for us. Can we have a third one? Oh, we could have used the third one there. But we do have 2 back-to-back power play goals. What a response from our power play. But we're only up by 1. Come on, PK. Come on, PK. Oh, there's still 3 minutes to go. This is a long hockey game. Come on, hang on. 2-1. 2-1. Yes! 2-1 win right there. So we have tied the Stanley Cup Finals up at 2 apiece. John Tavares and Mark Jankowski come through for the only 2 goals for us in the hockey game, both of which on the power play. See what happens when you actually have a reasonable power play that does something. See what happens when you have and Sean Monahan, who I moved up from the second unit to the top unit on that power play, assisted on both of those power play goals. Maybe Monahan was the key to it on the power play. Unreal. But see what happens when you actually have a power play that is capable of doing something. And the most stressful part for us in the power play category, 962 there, by the way, for Craig Anderson. Amazing night for Craig Anderson. But the most stressful thing is we have the players to have that type of, to have extremely lethal power play. We have the type of players that could give us a lethal power play night in and night out, and it has struggled mightily. I just don't understand. We have the right personnel. Why has the power play been so bad? I mean, in this game, it was really good. But overall, it's been just horrible. Nice to see the power play come through there for us. Hopefully, that is the start of something really special for us when it comes to the special teams. We do even the series up heading into Game 5. It is now a best of 3 for the Stanley Cup. The next team to win the next 2 games in the Stanley Cup Finals will walk home with the Stanley Cup. Both teams in their franchise histories have 1 Stanley Cup to show for. Tampa Bay Lightning 2004, Calgary Flames 1989, who will claim their second ever Stanley Cup championship. We have 3 games, a best of 3 to figure that out. So here we go. Home ice advantage in our favor. 2 of the final 3 games, if it goes that far, will be played on Saddle Dome ice. Calgary Flames, Tampa Bay Lightning, a best of 3 for the Stanley Cup. Here we go. This is it. Do we take that amazing 3-2 series lead? We're at home. We got to find a way to win this one. Game 5, come on, Calgary Flames. They start out with the 1-0 lead, as they have done so many times in this Stanley Cup Finals. But then we respond. Michael Frolik, and another goal from Frolik. Back-to-back goals from our second line. Huge, huge, huge. We're 2-1 right now in the first period. We kill off a Tampa Bay Lightning power play. 5 minutes to go. We only have 4 frickin' shots on net, and we are winning this hockey game 2-1. We only had 4 frickin' shots in that entire first period. Are you kidding me? I mean, wow, John Gibson is not playing well in this one, but my God, we got to get more shots on net. They are probably outplaying us badly. We're lucky to be up 2-1 after 20. Come on, Calgary Flames. Bounce back here with a stronger second period. Much stronger second period, please, Calgary. Come on. Come on. Come on, Calgary. And they've tied it up. That was coming. You saw that coming. Ryan Callahan has just been a beast for them in the Stanley Cup Finals. 2-2. They take the lead. Steven Stamkos for the first time in the Stanley Cup Finals on the power play. Gives them a 3-2 lead. Here's our power play. Come on, power play. Come on. You were so good in the last game, power play. Why? Why? You were so good in the last game. Oh, my God. Mikhail Sergachev makes it 4-2 with 29 seconds to go in that period. Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. Here we go. 20 more minutes. Come on, Calgary. You can't let them take the 3-2 series lead. We can't face elimination. Come on, Flames. Come on, Flames. Come on, Flames. Come on, Flames. We got to find a way to win this hockey game. Come on. Get back in it. 10 minutes to go. Get back in it. Come on. Oh, my God. We only have 22 shots on net. Come on. 5 minutes to go. Come on. 2 goals here. Oh, no. Calgary, come on. Oh, unreal. So they beat us 4-2. 43-25 were the shots on net for them. What the hell was going on? Where did our defense go? Jesus Christ. Unreal. A -2 for Brody and Hamonic. Really not a good night for that pairing. But that second line was our obviously did all the damage for us. Our top line was invisible in that one. Mike Smith again having to come in for Craig Anderson. So that's not good. Anderson played 2 periods there. Mike Smith came in the 3rd period, and once again, Mike Smith pretty steady when coming in relief, but this time, I don't believe Craig Anderson was pulled because of his poor performance, allowing 4 goals on 30 shots against is not that bad. 867. They would not have pulled him for having an 867 save percentage. So that could be some more bad news on the injury front for us. Already without Sam Bennett, we can't. If we lose Craig Anderson, we're done. We might have thrown the white towel. We are fucking done. So that's not good. They have taken a 3-2 series lead. The Tampa Bay Lightning have in the Stanley Cup Finals on us. We are now, for the very first time in the playoffs, are facing elimination. Looks like Anderson is not injured, so that is good news. But the bad news is, like I said, for the first time in the playoffs, we are facing elimination. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. We are still 2 wins away. We need to win the remaining 2 games of this series. We have to force a 7th game and have to find a way to get it done. But it starts here with Game 6. Back in Tampa Bay. You'll remember 15 years ago, Game 6, the Calgary Flames had a chance to wrap up the series, just like the Lightning did. The Flames won in Game 5 in Tampa Bay. 15 years later, the Tampa Bay Lightning won Game 5 in Calgary. Then we went to Game 6 and thought we won the Stanley Cup off the goal of Martin Gelinas. Tampa Bay ended up winning that game in overtime to force the 7th game, where they ended up winning at home. Now, we could do the exact same thing. We could flip the goddamn script on them. We could win here in Game 6 in their building. When they had a chance to win the Stanley Cup, then we could go back home for Game 7 and win the Stanley Cup. So, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but you have to see how similar this is to 2004. I mean, we have an opportunity to completely flip the script on them. We can do that in this game, or they could just win the Stanley Cup like we were supposed to 15 years ago. So let's see what happens. You know what? We're facing elimination. I'm going to stick with what we've got. I'm not going to make any lineup changes. I'm going to leave everything as is and see if this team is strong enough to force a 7th game in the Stanley Cup Finals. Here we go. This is it. The Stanley Cup is on the line. We are facing elimination for the first time. We could be done. The Tampa Bay Lightning could be champions. Can we force a 7th game? There's a huge goal by TJ Brody. There's a huge goal by Chris Versteeg. Come on, Calgary Flames. Hang on now. Hang on to this lead. Come on, Flames. Halfway through the first period. If only we could end the game now. Come on, Flames. Hang on. We're up 2-0. Jesus Christ. Just gotta hang on here. So, okay. We are up 2-0 after 20 minutes of play. That's good to see. 11-7, of the shots on net. Much stronger response than in the last game where we only had how many shots on net. Second period. Come on, Flames. Come on, we're still outshooting them by just a little bit here. Gotta find a way to hang on. PK. Come on, PK. Come on, PK. Yes. Come on. Oh my god, another PK. 5-on-3 for them. 5-on-4. And our PK gets it done. Unbelievable effort by our PK. Now our power play has to respond. Jesus, come on, power play. This is where you have to respond after a strong PK. Like, that's where we have to get. We're winning one side of the special teams battle, and that's the penalty kill. We're not winning the other half, which is the power play. Here we go, 3rd period. Come on, let's not make this the final period. Come on. Oh my god, Tyler Johnson scores. It's a 1-goal game. Come on, Calgary Flames. Oh my god, Ryan Callahan. Come on, we're fighting for our lives here. There he is, Johnny Gaudreau, first of the finals. Johnny Hockey has just put us in front. Hang on, Calgary. Force a 7th game. Hang on. Please force a 7th game for the love of God. Come on, 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. Come on, Calgary. Hang on, 1 minute. Oh, we are going back to Calgary. Whoo! 15 years ago, Martin St. Louis in overtime. The quote was, "We are going back to Tampa Bay." Well, here we are. We are going back to Calgary. Yes! That is a huge... We're not done writing the script just yet, though. I was going to say we flipped it, but we're not done. We still have 1 more game to go. 3-point night for Sean Monahan. Monahan has been money as of late here in the Stanley Cup Finals. Johnny Gaudreau, who's been arguably, going into the finals, if I had to pick one player to win the Conn Smythe, I know I said it was between Gaudreau and Tavares, I probably would have slightly edged Johnny Gaudreau over John Tavares going into the finals, but after... Now, I probably will put Tavares ahead of Gaudreau, only because this is Gaudreau's first goddamn point of the series. He's been next to invisible this entire Stanley Cup Finals until now, until he scored that huge GWG, game-winning goal. I mean, you're telling me it took till Game 6 for Johnny Gaudreau to come to the series. Oh my god, what is with this Craig Anderson, Mike Smith splitting the game? Like, Anderson's not getting injured. Why are they You know what? As long as we're getting the wins, I don't care. I'm not even going to fucking go over it. Mike Smith It was good for us for so long. We replaced him with Craig Anderson at the trade deadline, and it's nice to see him get a little bit of time, I guess, in the Stanley Cup Finals. He is just as big of a part of this team, and just as big of the reason of why we're here as Craig Anderson is. So, but yeah, no, it's just strange that Johnny Gaudreau has been next invisible the entire playoff series, Stanley Cup Finals, excuse me. I don't get it, how he can be so good all season in all playoffs, and then be invisible in the frickin' Stanley Cup Finals. So, but it's nice to see him get the goal there, the game-winning goal. Take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. This is something you just don't see every day. The Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, probably the best words in sports. Excuse me. Game 7, Stanley Cup Championship on the line. I mean, you can't get any better than this. Like I said, in 2004, we also went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals against Tampa Bay. It was in Tampa. They won the Stanley Cup in that game, by a score of 2-1. I believe they had goals from, I'm trying to think here, Brad Richards scored the first goal, Freddie Modine scored the second goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then Craig Conroy, I believe, scored in that third period to make it a 2-1 hockey game, and then Jordan Leopold took a shot in the final 5 minutes. Nikolai Hadibulin made the blocker save. I'm just replaying that game in my head right now, and that was all she wrote. They won that game 2-1 off the goals of Brad Richards and Freddie Modine. We got one from Craig Conroy, but wasn't good enough. They won 2-1. Here we are 15 years later. Game 7 this time is in Calgary. We've so far flipped the script on them from 2004. We have a chance to win the Stanley Cup here in Game 7 on home ice. Like, could you imagine if we could get this done? Like, the storylines that have already poured out of this, the playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals, is insane. But could you imagine if we could find a way here to win the Stanley Cup? I mean, here in Game 7. You're probably never going to get ever back here to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals for quite some time. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, can we get it done? Can we win the Stanley Cup? I mean, it is, I know we've only been at the helm for 2 years, but I mean, I want this one more than ever. So this is it. One final game. The Stanley Cup is on the line. The next team to win this, or the team that wins this game, will be the Stanley Cup champions 2019. I mean, I want it so badly to be us for so many reasons, obviously. Can it be us? I mean, I don't know. This is going to be goddamn close. So, I think what we're going to do is we're going to intervene in the game in the final minute, no matter who's winning, to watch the Stanley Cup celebration. But let's pray to the goddamn Lord that it is us, that it is the Calgary Flames. So here we go. You know what? Let's just jump right into it. Game 7, Stanley Cup Finals, Cup on the line. Here I don't know what else to say. Here we go. This is it. This is what we have dreamed of. This is what we have worked. This is what we've built our team for. Everything we've done is for this right now. So here we go. We're in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Scotiabank Saddledome. The entire hockey world watches on. Tampa Bay, Calgary, rematch of 2004. Oh my God, they have 2 straight power plays. PK getting the job done thus far. Come on, power play. This is the time for our power play to come through. If any game ever for our power play to score, this would be it. We do outshoot them 15-5. But it's still scoreless after 20 minutes to play. Come on, Calgary Flames, find a way. Oh my God, they scored. Braden Montour, the former Anaheim Duck, gets the first goal of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Come on, Calgary Flames. Come on, Calgary Flames. Oh, it's the Calgary native Braden Point. We are in a huge hole here in Game 7 of the Finals. Come on, this would be the worst way to lose. Come on, Calgary. There's Michael Frolik. Come on, Michael Frolik. Yes. There's Johnny Gaudreau. Woo! Johnny Gaudreau. This game is tied. Come on, Calgary Flames. Oh my God. So here we go. One final period. This could be it. Game is deadlocked at 2. Next goal may win the goddamn Stanley Cup. I can't even believe it right now. Please be the Calgary Flames. Please be the Calgary Flames. Here we go. Third period, Game 7. Stanley Cup Finals. Cup on the line. They can't get any better than this. Oh, and it's Nemestikov. Vladimir Nemestikov. 3-2 Tampa Bay Lightning. Come on, Flames. Come on. 5-on-4 power play. Oh, my God. Tie it up, Calgary. Come on, there's only 7 minutes left. Tie it up. Come on, 6 minutes, Calgary. Tie it up. This is for the Stanley Cup, Calgary. Come on, Calgary. Oh, my God. 1:23 left, and it is the Tampa Bay Lightning up 3-2. This is not good at all. I mean, we may be in... we may be in trouble here. So we will go. We will. Oh, this is unfortunate if it ends the way it does here. We're gonna go into the game here. Watch the final minute 24, and it is the Lightning leading 3-2. We had an opportunity to flip the script from 2004, and it might not look like it's going to happen here. This is not good. This would be the ultimate salt in the wound if they prayed around the cup on our home ice. So 126, there's still time. I'm not even going to be involved in this one, so I'm going to just select sides here. And I'm just obviously going to go in the middle here. Yep. And we are going to watch the final minute and 26 seconds of this Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So here we go. I mean, do the Flames have it in them in the final minute 26 to tie this hockey game up? Like, oh, this is not going to be, it's not going to be easy. But can they get it done? Come on, Michael Frolik. Come on, put it on net. Oh, Sergachev intercepts it. Only a minute 13 to go. It'll be interesting to see when they pull Craig Anderson out of the net. Braden Point, can you believe it? He returns home to Calgary and may return home as a villain in Calgary, but a hero to his family and friends. Like, he could parade the cup around in his hometown. That would be insane. Minute to go. This is it, Calgary. Stanley Cup's on the line. This would be the worst way to lose to the worst team possible. Like, I could not think of a more sour way to lose. And they score! With the net empty, Calgary Flames tie the game up with 46.9 seconds to go. Matthew Tkachuk's third of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You better believe it, Calgary. I almost feel like this isn't realistic, though. Like, there's no way they would have scored here. I mean, like, could you imagine if, like, this is almost just made up for the game, but hey, I'm going to take it. But that just does not seem realistic. Tkachuk there from Hamonic and Sean Monahan. His third of the Stanley Cup playoffs. As mentioned, the Calgary Flames with 46 seconds left has tied the hockey game up. Now, looks like overtime is destined, but do they have one more in the bag here before regulation ends? Giordano from the point. Fire it, Giordano. On net. You got to hit the goddamn net. There's Neal. Oh, and he destroys somebody along the boards, and he's going to be penalized for it. Oh, you got to be kidding me. James, the real deal Neal, is going to the penalty box for hitting Andre Platt. It wasn't even that bad of a hit. Oh, he's getting a game. Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine if this was real life? 5-minute power play for Tampa Bay? Holy fuck, are you kidding me? Oh, this is stupid. This is a fucking joke of a game. Oh my god. Like, this is fucking stupid. You would not call that a 5-minute boarding against Neal with a minute to go in Game 7 of the Finals, deadlocked at oh, that is fucking stupid. Kucherov, that's a chance there in the slot. 10 seconds to go. Nemestikov wide. Oh, and Anderson pounces on it. 6.8. Could you imagine, though? That would be fucking stupid. There's the top goals scorers in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can see Neal and Gaudreau. Somebody else was in the top 10 as well. PK here, 6.7 to go. Flames do get it out here with just 2 seconds to go. And we are going to overtime in Game 7 of the Finals. I mean, so like I said, Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals, you can't get better than that. Well, how about Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals overtime? Can't get better. This is what every kid dreams of, is scoring that overtime winning goal in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's just what's going to happen here in Calgary. They do have a lengthy, and I mean lengthy, power play to work with here to head into the overtime period with. So, late goal there by Tkachuk, but it is 3-3 after regulation. Once again, I'm just going to reiterate that this will be a longer episode. You probably can see that right now. It's probably going quite long. Obviously, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. It's supposed to go longer. So hopefully it doesn't go too long here, though. But yeah, so we are out shooting them 37-30. Here we go, overtime. Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals. The next goal wins the Stanley Cup no matter what. Will it be the Calgary Flames or will it be the Tampa Bay Lightning that take home their second ever Stanley Cup franchise history? They still have 4 minutes and 30 seconds to operate with on a 5-minute major that was awarded to James Neal. Here we go, though. Do the Flames have a shorthanded goal in them? Tavares drops it. Dougie Hamilton back to Tavares. We're shorthanded. This is a huge kill for us. Gaudreau back to Hamilton. Oh, bad giveaway there. Tyler Johnson working on Giordano. Johnson to the net. Can't get the puck by Giordano. And he'll get it down the ice. Not down the ice, but at least out. Sergachev gloving it down, offside. So, can we skip all this stuff? Why can't I skip this stuff? Alright, so 4 minutes, 10 seconds to go here on the power play. They got all their top players out there as expected. Stamkos wins the faceoff back to Sergachev. Here is Brandon Sutter, the former Canuck, and he fires it. Anderson makes the save. Hedman the rebound, and Craig Anderson pouncing on it. You know what? If we win, does Craig Anderson get the Conn Smythe trophy? He's been that good, but so has Tavares and Gaudreau. Probably Tavares though, if I had to decide. But again, we're not there yet. We need one more goal to get us there. Monahan here, off the faceoff. Won by Kucherov or Stamkos. Kucherov to Hedman. Hedman shoots. Huge rebound. Sitting there. Frolik sweeps it and puts it into his own man. Are you fucking kidding me, Michael Frolik? The Flames do get it down the ice. My battery is low on my controller. Perfect timing for that, by the way. Still 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. This is the longest ever power play and clock ever. Monahan with the puck. He gets it down the ice. I just realized the clock's going at regular speed. I probably should have set that to not go at regular speed because it's going way too long right now. But this is just like real life. Makes it more realistic. Johnson, Stamkos right in the slot. Couldn't get the shot away. Somebody tied him up. I don't know if it was Monahan, but what a defensive play there to tie up Steven Stamkos coming down the slot. We do get a line change in on the PK. Still 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go on this lengthy 5-minute major to James Neal. Here's Tyler Johnson behind the net. Johnson with the puck over to Stamkos. Open, Kucherov scores, and there it is. Nikita Kucherov. Stanley Cup to the Tampa Bay Lightning. It is probably going to be the hardest and longest off-season in Calgary Flames franchise history. This one stings. We did everything in our goddamn power. But at the end, it came down to I guess a penalty by James Neal, which was a bit of a joke of a penalty, but it was called. And the Lightning get a lengthy 5-minute power play and end up scoring in overtime to win the Stanley Cup. Former Tampa Bay Lightning Cedric Parquet. I bet he wishes he was on the other side of that one. The Conn Smythe goes to John Gibson. So that should be no surprise for the Lightning. The guy that they went and got at the trade deadline. Can you imagine coming in at the trade deadline and then not only lifting your team to a Stanley Cup championship, but winning the Conn Smythe? And there it is. For the first time ever, the Stanley Cup is on Scotiabank Saddledome ice. For the first time ever, the Stanley Cup will be awarded to a team off of Saddledome ice. Unfortunately for us, it is not going to be the Calgary Flames. As it was 15 years ago in Game 7, the Tampa Bay Lightning will steal a Stanley Cup out of the Calgary Flames' hands. Steven Stamkos is now a Stanley Cup champion, believe it. Markham, Ontario native Steven Stamkos and the Tampa Bay Lightning defeat the Calgary Flames in 7 games to win the Stanley Cup 2019. Unbelievable. Give the cup to Point, because he's got a lot of family and friends in the crowd. There's Mikhail Sergachev, former Montreal Canadian. Jonathan Drouin's probably watching on saying, that should be me. Dan Girardi, the veteran, coming over from the Rangers. He played on the third pairing, but not bad for him. That's his first Stanley Cup championship. He reached the finals there in, 2014 with the Rangers, so good to see the veteran defenseman Dan Girardi get a Stanley Cup, but oh boy, that should have been Calgary's. Should have been John Tavares. So this one, like I said, is going to sting, and it stings that much more just knowing who the opponent was. Exactly 15 years to the day, but there's not much you can do. This is sports. There's the good and there's the bad, and unfortunately we're on the bad side of it. It's going to suck, and it is what it is. There's John Gibson, the former Anaheim Duck, as mentioned. And the Tampa Bay Lightning prevail, Stanley Cup champions 2019. We were so damn close, 1 goal away. That's what makes it sting even more. I would have preferred a sweep. Honestly, I would have. It would have been less painful. So there they are. You can see it there. I actually just wanted to watch that because I haven't seen the new Stanley Cup celebrations in NHL 18. Slight improvement over NHL over the previous games, but if I had to say one thing to EA Sports, I would still say maybe make the Stanley Cup celebration slightly longer. It'd be cool to see all the players get to lift the Stanley Cup. Like, it would have been cool if we could have watched Braden Point lift the Stanley Cup there in Calgary. We could have watched Kucherov and Mestikov, like all these guys, even Vasilevsky parade the Stanley Cup around. And then give the option, though, to the user to skip. So I'm just looking here, Monahan 2 points. But give the option to the user to skip the Stanley Cup celebration, and I even think give the user control. Let the user decide who they pass the Stanley Cup off to, who gets the cup next, how long they get paraded around. As soon as Stamkos collects the Stanley Cup, accepts the Stanley Cup, that's what I was trying to say, the user should have control. So that's my idea for EA Sports going forward. It's actually been my idea for a number of years now. I've wanted them to do that, but it doesn't matter anyway, just saying. But I just wanted to see their improvements. So, ladies and gentlemen, there it is, the Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup champions. Like I said, this one stings, this one hurts. Obviously I was extremely excited. I thought that this was, especially the way that it went, the fact that we had the opportunity to flip the damn script on them here by winning in Game 7 like they did on home ice, like they did to us 15 years ago. That would have been something. It would have been a storybook ending. You wouldn't have been able to write a better script in Hollywood for fuck's sakes. Like, it would have been the ultimate ending, but it ends the way it does. The Calgary Flames ultimately end up losing the Stanley Cup in 7 games by 1 goal, just like they did 15 years ago to the Tampa Bay Lightning, just like it was in 2004. Like I said, for any Flames fan, this one stings even that much more knowing who the opponent was and knowing the way it ended. But hey, you know what? We've got a young, up-and-coming team, and this is just the start of something good for us. Our core is still pretty young. You got to remember, John Tavares is still, pretty young. Him and Stamkos and Gaudreau, Monahan. Our core is still pretty young. The Providence Bruins, to add salt to the wound, beat the Stockton Heat in the Calgary Cup Finals. So we don't even get to win the goddamn AHL championship. So we have nothing to show for what was turned out to be a pretty successful 2018-19 season for both our AHL and NHL teams, but we just get nothing to show for. So there they are, ladies and gentlemen. The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup. This episode's gone on long enough, so I'm going to end it here. It sucks, like I said. There's not much we can do. We'll just mull over it and move on. We've got a big draft and off-season coming up, and we're going to take another shot at returning back to the Stanley Cup Finals next year. Hopefully it won't be the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm done with them. I'm tired of seeing the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals against us. I've had enough of that. 2004 was bad enough. Even though this is just a video game, 2019 has just made it that much worse. So I don't want to see any more Tampa Bay Lightning. I hope they don't even make the playoffs anymore. I'd like to see the Flames back, though, obviously, and hopefully we can win a cup. So this is the end of that. This episode, like I said, has gone on over an hour, so this will be a long one, but we will pick things up in episode 25. The off-season begins. We have to get ourselves back to the Stanley Cup Finals now. We have had a taste of it. We've tasted blood. It tastes good. We got to get back here. I mean, we've got to find a way to get back here. It's going to suck until we get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, until we win a Stanley Cup. It's going to suck all the way till then. So the march back to the Stanley Cup Finals and to a championship begins in episode 25.